My name is Minister Mary Ann, and I will be your pulpit conductor today. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. My scripture comes from Psalms 150. Praise the Lord. With emphasis on the Lord. Praise the Lord. He deserves it all. Praise God in His sanctuary. So we should all be thanking God right now that we are able to sit in His sanctuary and say, yes, Lord. Praise Him in the mighty expanse. That means all over. Open your arms wide and expand. Oh, my Lord. Praise Him for His mighty deeds. He woke us up this morning. He let us be able to speak and speak His word. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Praise Him according to His excellent greatness. Because you are great. He is great. You are great. And we thank you for your greatness. Praise Him with the trumpet sound. Yes. Let your mouth be the trumpet that says yes. Open your mouth and trumpet to God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise Him with the harp and lyre. Oh, hallelujah. Praise Him with the timbrel and dance. Oh, I don't know about you, but we all should be shouting right now. We should be shouting. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise Him with a stringed instrument and a pipe. Your voice is your pipe. Let your pipe trumpet the sound of His name. Hallelujah. Oh, praise Him with a loud cymbal. Oh, my God, your hands. Let your hands clap to Him and make the loud cymbal noise. Hallelujah. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord. Everybody should say, praise the Lord right now. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. 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 Oh, thank you, Lord. Father God, as we come before you, give you all the praise and honor and glory. Because, Lord, you deserve it all. I say hallelujah to your name. Hallelujah to your will. Hallelujah to your greatness. Hallelujah to your sacrifice. Hallelujah to you, Lord, because you deserve it all. Hallelujah. There's no praise high enough, but hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord, Father God. Thank you, Lord, Father God. Oh, say yes. 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 And let's get ready to do our vision and our mission statement, because I get excited sometimes because praising the Lord feels good. So let's get ready to do our vision. Everybody stand to your feet. Our vision is to be the best training and evangelistic ministry in the world. And I say it with some meaning because we had some good training yesterday, and I'm telling you, I went home yesterday and listened to it all night long. So, okay, our mission, our mission, Center of Attraction, exists for the purpose of glorifying the name of Jesus, through worship, Christian discipline, and the proclaiming of God. What kind of place is this? A progressive and prosperous place, a place of worship to our God, an apostolic and prophetic place, a place of community and international outreach, a place exploding in growth. Exploding. We constantly exploding in growth. We're growing constantly. I have never seen so much growth since I've been in now. People are actually opening their mouths and not sitting there like there's nothing going on. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, and again, I get excited because praise the Lord is good. I have already read my scripture, and I'm trying not to get too upset because I am just excited. I get excited when it comes to getting and saying how much I love the Lord. And I get really emotional about it. So I don't y'all forgive me if I go a little bit overboard. But we're going to get ready to go for our order of service. We're going to call our praise team up. We can't explain it. We hear people say it. Until you have been there, done that, you don't realize my hands look new. My feet does too. The grass seems to be a little bit more greener and the sky more blue. Can I get it with me? Darkness has left me and light has come. Somebody said, I'm free. We're free not to go back to the world. We're free to live for Him. The scripture that we sung, He whom the Son set free is free indeed. I just want to read this scripture and we're going to pray and then we're going to continue to worship today. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. Can we sing that with the same beat? Let's see if we can do that. Because I still feel that cadence. I still feel that thrust. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in pasture. And He leads me beside still water. He restores my soul. He restores my soul. That's why we have the songs. That's what the songs are. The songs were, I'm sure David didn't sing it like we sung it, but amen. This is how they remembered Scripture. And so please keep that in mind. Hallelujah. The Lord, say the Lord is my shepherd. I have no wants. The banner over me is love. Don't praise him for it right now.
Here I am to worship. Here I am to bow down. Here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. Sing. Here I am to worship. Here I am to bow down. Here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. And King of all days, oh so highly exalted, glorious in heaven above. Humbly you came to the earth you created, all for love's sake became born. King of all days, oh so highly exalted, glorious in heaven above. Humbly you came, Lord. Humbly you came to the earth you created, all for love's sake became born. Here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here I am to say that you're my God. You're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. Light of the world, you step out into darkness. Open my eyes, let me see who and beauty that made this heart to adore you. The hope of a life with you. Can you sing that? You step down into darkness. Open my eyes, let me see. Beauty that made this heart adore you. Hope of a life. Here I am to worship. Here I am to bow see my sins upon that cross. I'll never know how much it costs to see my sins upon that. I'll never know. I'll never know why it all
or heard, we ask that you come before the mic and present it. If you're new to it, we ask that you write it down and present it to the pastors that they may judge it. But the ministers of this house well know what they are responsible for. And as we get people to come, and as we get the ministers to come to give their word of exhortation, while we were doing praise and worship, I heard this scripture. Because when we were singing freedom, and we were saying about freedom, I heard that we are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. And that's what came to me first, a peculiar people. We are a peculiar people. That we can sit and say, we love the Lord, and we worship the Lord with all our might, all our soul, all our spirit. And that we shall draw forth the praises of Him who have called us out of the darkness, as the apostle said, called us out of the darkness into His marvelous light. So that makes us peculiar and holy. That we can be called out of darkness, that we are free. And whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Hallelujah. Amen.
I am free. That song went out today telling that we are free. And God says He's doing some miracles right now in our life and in this church. As Marion said earlier before the service started, God is moving. God is moving. God cannot be stopped because we are free and free indeed.
First thing, as we were singing the banner of God covering us with love, I thought about the banner, and then I began to think about Jesus. And it came to me as John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. So His only Son, whosoever believeth in Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. As I was listening, as I heard that song and this scripture came to me, and the covering that God sent to the earth to cover us, everything that the enemy has tried to do in our lives, He sent His Son to cover us, to protect us. His love protects us. And the other thing that I saw was that, this is what I heard, I'll say that and saw. I heard that we need to nail everything to the cross because Jesus done paid it all. He said everything that you're going through, everything that the enemy is trying to stop you at, or whatever it is in your life that the enemy is trying to bring up, He said nail it to the cross. He said I am the one that comes to bring you peace. I am the one that comes to deliver you. I am the one that covers you when you don't even think I'm covering you. He said, I cover you with my love. I cover you with my peace. I cover you with the blood of Jesus. As I was sitting there, as the praise and worship team was just so powerful this morning, and God was just moving through the whole prayer as I was sitting back there when I came in. I heard the Lord say, Hannah. So I went into the scripture, and the Lord was saying that Hannah was the second wife, and she was barren. She had no children. And Hannah was pretty upset about it. But Hannah was a warrior. Hannah knew how to pray. Hannah knew how to go before the Lord and petition. She didn't beg him, she asked him. And when Hannah found out that she was pregnant, as you all know, she had Samuel, her love for God, her persistency, her diligence in laying before the king, it paid off. And when Samuel was born, she said, Lord, not a hair of his head will be shaved. And we know the whole story. And the Lord said today, hallelujah, I'm weaning you from the past. I'm weaning you from the things that you've been going through. Your love for me should be so great in this sanctuary. He said you must bow down. You must worship him. You must go to places you've never been before. I am your God. I am your Savior. Worship me, says the Lord.
Praise the Lord. When they were singing that song, I Am Free, what I heard first before I left home, it said, wake up in Zion, put on your strength. And then this morning when we were singing that song, it was talking about we are free. And what I saw in the spirit, I saw a bird flying. But it came to me when we was at home, when we was young and at home. And in our house, we had like a back porch. And the screen was kind of tore out of the back porch a little. And the birds sometimes would come in and they couldn't find their way back out. And so we would go open the door and let the bird out. And when we let the bird out, the bird would just be doing this here, flying, just doing this. He's free because he's free. So God says, we are free. If we just keep waving and flying like that bird, and look at that bird flying. The bird is flying, and then he said, wake up, O Zion, and put on your strength, and continue to fly up over the enemy, where the enemy cannot get to you. So just continue to fly. He said, yes, because of me, you are free.
And we say this has all been powerful. Bring this down so amen. Certainly we need to understand that we're free, and Christ has said, Christ has set me free.
Christ has set me free.
All right, so we have to lay claim to that with our faith today, and we have to believe that. And sometimes we have to keep saying that to ourselves. I'm free. I'm free. And we're free from bondage. We're free from depression. Come on now. We're free from fear and anxiety. We're free from worry. We're free from fretting. We're free from any disturbances or distractions. And that leads me to the scripture I'm about to share here in a minute. But we're free now. Amen. So we're going to act like it. We're going to act like it. Amen. I said amen. We're going to talk like free people. We're going to think like free people. We're going to act and we're going to display ourselves as if we are free. Because we are. 2,000 plus years ago, Jesus Christ set us free. We have to be reminded of that now. Amen. Now, you may not be presently living in all the liberties that you desire, but know that Christ has already set you free. So, Father, today I declare your revelation of freedom. Your revelation of freedom. Your revelation of freedom. Show us how to be free, Father. Because you've already made that way. That way for us to escape. You said you are the way, the truth, and the life. So God, we thank you that the way is already made for our liberty and for our freedom. So the word God has for me is in Isaiah 26:3, New King James Version says, you will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on him. Say, I will keep my mind stayed on him. When our mind, you see, begins to wander from him, we move immediately into the devil's zone. Yeah. We move into the natural of who we are. That ain't good either at times. Amen. And so we have to keep our eyes on Jesus. I got to pay my bills. You got to keep your eyes on Jesus. My daughter, my son. Oh, I got to keep my eyes on Jesus. Wow, I don't know about this job. I'm still working at it. Deliver me, Lord. Keeping my eyes on Jesus. Not your eye on the problem. Amen. I say amen. There's no mountain too high, no valley too low, that the Lord is not there. Even David said, when I'm in hell, he's there in hell with me. I won't ask who's going through hell right now, but the Lord is in your hell too. Amen. He said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. So it doesn't matter where you are, the Lord is there. Be encouraged. We're on our way now. I said, we're on our way. Yes, we are. I can feel it. I can sense it. I believe it. Amen. Lastly, let me say, as the moderator comes, that the scripture is clear to show us these very truths, but let me just share it with you this way. It is a fact that the darkest of night is 12 midnight. But when 12:01 comes, I said 12:01, the dawning of a new day. And at 12:01, you can look out your window, it still looks dark, but your clock says, liar, liar, pants on fire. It has just begun. And you say to your clock, what? And it will respond, a new day. Hallelujah. What's my point? That darkness doesn't last always. There's a new day on the horizon. Somebody cry out, new day. Amen. And so it is, and so it is. Amen. Lastly, we responded, did our channel, amen, and I said amen, and we'll teach that one day, because the true Hebrew translation of so be it is true is amen, A-M-E-I-N, not amen, which is amen ra, yeah, the Egyptian god, amen ra. Just something to think about. All right, moving right along. Amen.
All right. Anyone else that had anything else to say? If not, we're going to get ready to do our scripture of the month. Anyone ready? It is from Romans 10, 9 and 10.
Romans 10, 9 and 10, that if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, you shall be saved. For with the heart man believes unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation.
Hallelujah. Anyone else?
Hold on just a minute. Who did I say last week was supposed to do that? Who did I say? I want you to stand right there. Who did I say? Who did I say? All right, okay. Who did I say? Don't sit down line. Don't stand in line. Praise the Lord. And remember I said for those that I identified, make sure you were at Sunday. Who missed it? Dick and Grace. They're not here today. I said, you better show up if you want to do your rest of your reciting of scripture. All right, listen, we're family. We don't want to embarrass you. We'll help you. And so so that we get this word. Man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. The entrance of His word gives us light. Amen. We must know the word of God, because if we do know the word, then the word will direct and guide us, keep us safe, and all that good stuff. Amen. The man of God must know the word of God.
Oh, yeah.
Romans 10, 9, and 10.
Romans 10, 9 and 10. If thou shalt confess the Lord Jesus, who God has raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth salvation is made, and with the mouth confession is made for salvation.
Amen. Yes, ma'am.
Did not confess your mouth. I should say. The mouth, one mouth. Salvation is made.
Righteousness.
Confession is made with the heart. With the mouth, confession is
Mr. Robert.
That house of professional mom, Lord Jesus. And I believe from the heart, God is raised from the dead, I'll show you. And from the heart,
Man believes in
man believes unto righteousness, and from the mouth man confesses salvation.
Good. All right. So we will, at this time, we will do our announcements. While Minister Sherry is coming up to do the announcements, we do have information for the bazaar ladies and gentlemen. If you want to rent space, the sign-up sheet is out in the lobby. And our people are allowed to pick our spots. Okay, so if you want, it's $25 a space. It's going to be pedicures and manicures done by Team Mac, and Monos from the business of Monique Palmer is going to be doing massages, and you can bring your stuff, your crafts and your goodies and the sell out in here in the parking lot. We're not using the whole parking lot, we're using half. It'll be sectioned off. There's 21 spaces available. Well, now it's not that. I think it's 18 because I've seen 3 that's been taken, 4 that's been taken. So they're going fast, and the spots are $25. So if anyone, you can sign up, and I'll get your money, and then, but all monies must be paid before you set it up. I'm going to tell you. And it's going to be September the 14th. From 9 to 4, right here at Center for Attraction. There is a flyer. Please, if you know of anyone, you can take a flyer with you from out there. And again, it's the 14th of September, right here at church.
Supernatural Sunday will be September 1st at 6:30 p.m. Invite others. Supernatural Sunday, September 1st at 6:30 p.m. Invite others. Pastors are asking for pledges toward roof goal of $10,000. Thanks to all who helped in food giveaway. Understanding Dreams and Visions today at 6 p.m. Fasting and prayer every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Every Wednesday, United Prayer at 6 p.m. and Bible study at 7. Tell someone about Jesus and invite them to church. Do we have any first-time visitors in the house today? Please stand and give us your name, church home. Sorry.
to acknowledge our good friend who did not stand. I want you to stand, James Knox. I want you to stand. Amen. Give him a hand.
Every day of my wake up, getting out of this Sunday, we are blessed. And I take it from there and give God grace.
Well, it's offering time. It's offering time. Get excited. Didn't I say that this morning? Let's get excited. Yeah. All right, it's offering time. We'll make your checks out to Center for Traction or the COA. We do have point of sale. As we're getting prepared, if you need an envelope, raise your hand. Our ushers will be glad to give you one. We're going to get ready to do our scripture based on our offering. It comes from Malachi 3:8. It says, "Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in thine house, in my house. And I will prove me now herein, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer for your name's sake. And ye shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. And all nations shall call you blessed, for ye are a delightsome land, saith the Lord of hosts." We're going to do as soon as everyone's prepared, we're going to get ready to do our offering affirmation. Everyone's prepared, we get ready to stand and do our offering affirmation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to say this with some enthusiasm because you got to believe we are free to receive everything that we are affirming. Our offering affirmation, as we give our tithes and offerings, we are believing you, Lord, for jobs and better jobs, raises and bonuses, benefits, sales and commissions, estates and inheritance, interest and income, rebates and returns, checks in the mail, healing and divine health, gifts and surprises, finding money, bills paid off, settlements, debts demolished, royalties received, scholarships and grants, contracts, money management, 100-fold return, according to your word, in Jesus' name, amen. Stretch forth your hand. Lord Father God, in the name of Jesus, thank you for this offering, Lord Father God. Thank each and every hand that was able to give, Lord Father God, and bless the ones that cannot give at this time, Lord Father God, that the abundance comes, Lord Father God, and we say increase over this blessing, abundant increase, Lord Father God, to the overflow. And in Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. We thank God for it. We get ready as we get prepared for the woman of God.
Amen.
Your pastor, our prophetess.
Amen.
I would dare say the one that the Lord has honored to be a prophetess, the first of her kind many years ago.
Yes.
That was public, and I'm glad to know her as her husband. Amen. So we thank God for who she is, and also our kids' zone is available for our kids today. And you're more than welcome to be dismissed as well in Jesus' name. And we want to get ready to pray. Hallelujah. Amen. And so we're going to pray, and then we'll turn it over to her, and she can take it from there. Father, we just thank you for the woman of God. We thank you, Father, right now for what you have for us. We decrease that you may increase, that you may share with us your truth, that your truth will, yes, set us free.
Yes.
That your anointing is already resting and abiding on her, would now, Lord God, be mantled upon us, that your will be done through us, God, and that you will get the glory out of our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Thou, oh Lord, art a shield around me. You're my glory. You're the lifter of my head. Thou, oh Lord, art a shield around me. You're my glory. You're the lifter of my head. This is what David said in Psalms 3. They said there's no hope for him in God. He's not going to make it. His own son Absalom was trying to kill him, and he said this in Psalms 3. God, you're my glory. You're the lifter of my head. They say there's no help for me. But God, I believe I look up today. And somebody may be saying that about you. They're not going to make it. They're speaking against you. And they want you to fall. They want you to fail. But you need to say out of your mouth, God, you're my glory. And you're the lifter of my head. Although many will be against me, still will fall on the right side and the left side. But God, you will lift me up. Though a righteous man falls 7 times, God, you will raise him up. Hallelujah, God. God, you're the God of more than enough. You're the old stop. More than a second chance. More than a second chance. You give us many chances, God. You give us many chances. And God, you're so merciful. And you are so good. Hallelujah. Yes, Lord. You're my glory. You're the lifter of my head. Hallelujah. Oh God, how could that happen? How could that happen? Can you hear David say, Lord, why is my son trying to kill me? My own son, the one I love so much, the one I didn't even chastise when he needed to be chastised. And it looked like if that person hadn't given that counsel, David would have been there. But God, you're his glory. You were the lifter of his head. Hallelujah. The shield around him. Can you see God is your shield today? God, you are my shield today. You're my son and my shield today. God, you're my glory. You're my glory. And the lifter of my head, God. Why is your head down today? Begin to look up and say, God, you're my glory. You're my glory. If God be for you, who can be against you? If God be for you, who can be against you? Hallelujah. Well, this has been a Charity. And then last night I was at Christ Community for Mrs. Reed's appreciation. The music was wonderful. The fellowship was wonderful. We had food, music, and I guess you could say fellowship first. And then, the food and everything was wonderful. And today we'll be going back to our church here tonight. And we're going to be having another part of the Dream Seminar. And if you don't understand dreams, I tell you, this morning I had about 2 or 3 dreams. And the one dream, you may think this is silly, but I saw all these little kitty cats, and they were being hurt, and they were being mistreated, and thrown out windows and stuff. And God reminded me, I think I was a college student, and I was sending $1 a month to help kitty cats. I love kittens. And so I said, oh Lord, people are being mean to kittens and they're not feeding them. And God said, can't you afford to give $1 to help a cat? Can you afford to give a few dollars to help some puppy dogs or horses? I don't think because God loves His creation and He loves animals. So think about it. When you see those commercials and those little animals are looking really hungry, it doesn't hurt to buy a little puppy chow and some kitten food. It doesn't hurt for you to go and see what you can do to help animals that are suffering. You know God loves animals. He hates cruelty to animals. You're going to get it if you're being mean to animals. I want you to know that. Okay? And then the other dream I had, it was kind of like, it was scary. I saw it was a mudslide, and all these kids were on their way to school, and the mud totally covered them. And we couldn't pull them all out, and some had died, and they were in the school so afraid, and it was just happening all over. And I said, Lord, what does that mean? It was so real. And the Lord said, there's things going to happen in the last days. And right now, we're just in the beginning of sorrows, right? In the beginning, we're not in full tribulation, but what did He say in Matthew 24? How He talked about, Apostle, can you get that for me? In Matthew 24, what did He say in Matthew 24? There's going to be some things that's going to be happening. And so He was telling me, don't let your heart be troubled. Neither let it be afraid. Don't let fear come into your heart. Look at me, don't let fear come into your heart. Thank you, sir. Matthew 24. Okay, the disciples asked Jesus a question because they're looking at the temple. And then He gives a word. That's verse number 2. Now as He sat on the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to Him privately, saying, tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So He's really talking about 2 things here, the sign of His coming and the end of the age. We know it's called the rapture, they say, but really it's called the uptaking. That we're going to see Jesus as Christians, and we're going to get up, and the dead in Christ will rise first, and they that are alive, they'll hear their trumpet, and they'll be in the air to meet Jesus. We call that the rapture. But the second coming is visible. Our eyes will behold Him, and they'll be weeping and mourning. Amen? So the end of the age, and Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no one deceive you. We have many deceivers out there. They're playing on people's fears and emotions. If you study the history about people confessing, giving false prophecies, Jesus is coming right now. People sold their houses. They had ascension robes sitting on top of mountains waiting for Jesus to come. And what those people did was take all their worldly property and seduce them and bamboozle them and deceive them. For many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ. I don't know if you remember that big old ad in the paper. This person said he was the Christ, right? Many will come saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. There's a spirit of deception out there. Come on now. There's a spirit of deception out there. You got to know the word, and you got to have the gifts of the Spirit, especially the gift of discernment, so you can discern their spirit. Is it demonic? Is this a human spirit? What is this the flesh? We got to be able to discern, because they're going to be able to preach like Paul and sing like angels. They're going to be able to do exegesis and homiletic so good and look like they know the word. But listen, look at their character. Look at their character. Something is wrong. Something ain't right. I can't put my finger on it, Lord, but something ain't right. And then you find out later they were doing all kind of spiritual poops all over the place. I was at this one revival, and this lady invited me over to her church, It started at 8, so I was in the office talking to her, and so this man of God, I knew him. And when I was at another service, he had laid hands on me, and I felt something funny. I felt sick to my stomach. I said, Lord, what's going on here? So when I went in there, he was the speaker, and I came out, I just looked, I didn't say anything. They asked me to say something, so I got up, and I looked at out there, most of the people there I knew. I said, I got a word for you. All y'all need to repent and get right with God. And you're trying to seek a prophecy, but you don't need a prophecy. You need to be obedient. You need to get into the word. Your problem is disobedience and sin. And you know, there's people who want to pimp the gifts. They want to use the gifts to promote themselves. And the Holy Ghost said, you need to put your gifts on the shelf and come back to God and seek the face of God, because you're pimping the gifts. And we so deceived and so childlike, we believe anything and everybody. And we can't tell the difference between a psychic and a prophet. A psychic gets their gift from the demonic, from the negative spiritual realm. We get our gifts from He, the Holy Spirit. We got to know the difference. And the psychic can tell you some facts and looks like the truth. But what's going to happen? They'll lead you to them. They'll control you. They'll manipulate you. A real prophet can say, thank you, have a word of God for you, and they go on their way. Read your Bible, Old Testament. Who was it? Was it, okay, Naaman needed to be healed, and then the prophet said, I don't even have to come out and go dip 7 times. Naaman got exalted, y'all. And he said, well, I thought he was going to do this and that. And when he obeyed the prophet, he was delivered and healed. But remember, he said, I don't want nothing from you. There is a God in Israel. But Gehazi, his servant, heard that. He was so greedy, he would say, oh, my master don't change his mind. He wants this and that and the other. And then when he came back and his foot hit the door, the prophet said, I saw you with what you did. And you're going to have leprosy right now. So you see, we got to be very careful. We're not preaching for money. We're not preaching for filthy lucre. We're not money prophets. Y'all hear what I'm saying? We're not trying to deceive anyone. We just want to give you the word of the Lord. And somebody say, there is a present truth. There is a truth that's coming. Come on now. There is a present truth coming out the mouth of God. What is God saying today? Somebody say today. What is God saying today? What is God saying right now? You got to get the word and rightfully divide the truth. We got so many people don't know the word. They're being deceived. We got many deceivers out there. They say we can't judge. We can't make no judgment. Just a minute here now. You say we can't judge? Then we might as well close our churches and not preach anymore. Because every time we preach, we're judging sin, or we're talking about righteousness versus wickedness. So we got to be able to tell the truth. But let me give you this. Don't talk to me about a speck in my eye and you got a 2x4 in yours. Take that big old log out of your eye, and then you can talk to me about my little speck. Some people are doing what? They're gagging their flies, but they're swallowing camels. Okay, I'll get back to this. Shall deceive many. So we got a lot of people, they don't know truth. And they watching all these talk shows on TV and people sitting around and chewing and viewing and doing stuff. But what are you really saying? Are we getting our doctrine from TV shows, our teaching, or are we going back to the Word so we can rightfully divide the word of truth? Come on now. We need to find, doctrine means teaching. Who is teaching you? It can't be the soap operas and the TV and the movies, because so much anti-Christ doctrine is in there, so much humanism and psychology and all this different stuff. Even we discussed in the dream seminar, we have to be so careful that we're not having a mixture. That's what Constantine did when he became a Christian. He decided he would be a Christian, but he left the idols in the temple. He let them bring in idols and worship Christ. Which one you want to worship? Come on, it's a smorgasbord. It's like Burger King, have it your way. Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. He said many, not a few. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of war. Aren't we hearing of that right now? Wars and rumors of war. Don't get scared. Don't get scared. Don't get shaken. You're going to hear these things. And see that you be not troubled. See, that's that trouble in heart. Fearful. For all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. He said, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation. We heard about that now. And kingdom against kingdom. And there should be famines. Yes, we see famines all on television, right? I can't hardly stand watching it. You see little fly on the person's mouth, and they all like bones, skin and bones, and you get so concerned when you say, Lord, which one do you want me to give to? And the Lord says, I want you to have wisdom. You can't give to them all. You give to the ones I tell you to give to. Your church is giving to a lot of outreaches, so you don't have to fear. We're making sure that we give to certain ministries, helping to dig wells and helping the little people in Haiti. Y'all hear what I'm saying? So we're doing things. And I love Operation Blessing because they're helping little kids get their surgery, get their smile back. And there's different outreaches we're dealing with. We want you to know that. So don't worry about that, because there are going to be pestilence and famines and earthquakes in diverse places. These things are just the beginning. And all these are what? Is that the end? No, it's just the beginning of sorrows. Now we're studying Revelation on Wednesday. And right now we're in the last two churches in the 7 churches of Asia Minor. We're the last 2, and then we're going to get to that famous chapter 4 and keep going. And after chapter 4, you get up to heaven and see so many things happening. And what you'll be seeing is wrath coming down from heaven to earth, and because judgment's coming. Somebody say judgment is coming. You see, God said, "What am I going to do about sin? I took care of sin in man. Now I got to take care of sin on planet Earth, because my whole creation is groaning and travailing for a manifestation of the sons of God." God said, I'm going to make a new heaven, a new earth. There's going to be a regeneration. Somebody say regeneration. But it's not going to be water this time. Somebody say fire. Fire. I'm going to send fire. He goes, oh, it's so good. You just got to get in that book of Revelation. Somebody said it's hard. Somebody was talking to me. I said, we're doing Revelation. She said it's hard. I said, let me explain to you. Boom, boom, boom. She said, oh. I said, see how easy that was? I said, Revelation is not hard at all. It's your mindset. So here it is. See, wars and rumors of wars. Nation that rise against nation. These are the beginning of sorrow. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted. I think we can talk to Jews and the Old Testament saints about many were afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Seems like they're doing that against the Jewish Christian right now, or against Jews, and just in general. They just hate them for no reason at all. And then many shall be offended and shall betray one another. Listen, the spirit of offense is something else. It makes you betray people. Well, over in Germany, your next door neighbor turns you in because they wanted your property. They were offended because you were a Jew. You know what happened, how many they killed in the Holocaust? That was horrible. How could you do that to your neighbor when we're supposed to be our brothers and sister keepers? We're supposed to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And see what? That God is dealing with something here. In the last days, He's going to make sure that nothing unhealthy, unclean is in His creation. Let me hurry over here. And then many shall be offended, shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. Somebody say false prophets. Not just false prophets, false apostles, false prophets, false teachers, false pastors. That's false, all over the place. So you better know the word, because they look good, they smell good, they all slicked up, and you think they're real, but they're not for real. You know what happened to Jill Jones, right? He started off good, but ended up bad. And took a lot of people with him. Now, you should have known something was off if somebody's spitting on the Bible and cussing and then dissolving marriages and taking boys and girls do what he wanted to do. Something's wrong with you if you can't see sin and deception. Come on now. Something's wrong with you when your pastors in the church go with all the women and vice versa. You can't even walk down somebody rubbing your hand like this. Okay, thank you. Many false prophets shall arise, shall deceive many. And because, now, this is the important verse number 12. Because iniquity shall abound. Somebody say iniquity. Inner crookedness. Things you were born with. Things in your family. But I got some good news that Jesus went to the cross for iniquity. He was bruised for our iniquity. And with the stripes we are healed. Somebody say we can overcome iniquity. We can overcome generational curse. Because because iniquity shall abound. It's an increase in iniquity. I've never seen so much wickedness in my life on television. They showing any and everything. There's no restraint. They say all type of profanity out of their mouth, and they act like it's natural. And you say, God, what's wrong with them? Don't they know right from wrong? Don't they care about our children? They don't care about nothing but it's the big bus. It's the Benjamins. They only care about money. What the Bible says, it's the love of money that's the root of all. They love it. They don't care what they do. They don't care what they sell. Pornography, whatever. Softcore pornography. They don't care. And seduce little children with all kind of tattoos. Making them believe it's all right to play the casino. They got casino machines all over. Little kids think it's all right. Getting them play cigarettes, practice smoking. The love of many shall wax cold.
Yes.
The love life is cold. We studied in Ephesians, in Ephesus, the first church. Their love had grown cold. They were doing a lot of good things. He said, I got something against you. You don't lost your first love. Ask yourself, have you lost your first love? Are you just going through the ritual, just going through the emotions? Okay, I got to keep up an appearance, so I got to fake it till I make it. But God knows that your heart not right. It's gotten cold. See, you can't have unforgiveness in your heart and bitterness and all these different things and think that God don't know it and God don't see it. He said, you know, when I studied the word iniquity out, it said that if you regard iniquity in your heart, God will not hear you. And so when I studied the scripture out, he said, continually doing something and know you're doing it on purpose. It wasn't an accident. It was intentional sin. It was open transgression. You made up your mind to do it. Then you said, when I get done, I'm going to repent. God don't play like that. You better watch it. Maybe your soul be before it be that night. Because iniquity shall abound, and the love of many shall wax cold. And when we were studying Thessalonians, that's what they said. They said the reason why they're open for the spirit of Antichrist is because they lost their love. Love of the word, love of fellowship, love of the church, love of the brethren. They lost their love. Ask yourself, do you love people the way you should love them? I know we got some grand rascals in our family, and there's some people that do stuff, but you got to love everybody. You got to forgive people over and over until you say, okay, God, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm not receiving it. Now you listen to me. If you open the door with your mouth and start talking about what they did to you, and start telling people, it'll be like they just did it. If you start rehearsing it, and you nurse it, you feed it. Open it up. I'm going to take the bottle. You feed it. It'll manifest like, God, that happened 20 years ago. It feels like it just happened. See, so you don't feed it. You reverse it with the word. You reverse it with the cross of Jesus Christ. You put the cross in bitter waters. God, I can't forgive. Yes, you can forgive. Yes, you can let it go. I gave you the cross of Jesus Christ. I gave you an example. Father, forgive them. And Jesus has forgiven people who plucked out his beard and slapped him in the face and put a crown of thorns on them, pierced him in the side, nailed his hand. If Jesus can forgive all those people that did it to him, how much more can we forgive? And we have not suffered unto death right now. Well, I know feelings are being hurt. That's about it. But he that is doer to the end shall be saved. Well, there's nothing at 24. I could just go that whole chapter. I love that one. But I want to go to Psalms 1 for a minute. I was always studying Psalms, and they were so good, and especially Psalms 1. When I was studying my commentary on my computer, it said that Psalms 1 was a basic introduction to all the Psalms, showing you that man basically is good or evil. It's a summary of all the Psalms. I said, oh, never heard that before. And so I will study this again, and you can get Psalms 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. Blessed. The word blessed means happy, to be envied, to be quite fortunate, highly favored. So happy is the person, happy is that man or woman that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. You say, counsel, what does that mean? Counsel. You sit down and you talk with them, and they give you advice. They tell you what to do. They give you guidance. Instead of the word guiding you, instead of the preacher and the mother of the church, you talking to the wrong people. And they giving you counsel. This is what I would do if I was you. If I was you, I'd divorce that joker. I'd get me somebody else. If I was you, this is what I do. I'll go to that dating site. You can find you somebody. They're going to give you all type of counsel. You got to be very careful who you're listening to and who you're going to for counsel. Now, you don't go to the drug dealer for no counsel. Because they don't tell you, I can soothe your feelings and take this drug, you're going to feel better. Right? So we got to be careful that we're not walking in the counsel of the ungodly. Was it somebody that gave this boy Old Testament, it was Amnon, his cousin gave him the counsel how to get some more. Right? And he said, this is what you do. Continue sin. And tell her that you're not going to eat unless it comes from her hand, this soup, whatever she's supposed to be making. And she took it in there, in the inner chamber. He grabbed her and he raped her. Somebody told him to do that. That was the counsel that his cousin gave. Read it for yourself. Old Testament. And the whole story goes, it's very horrible. David's son Absalom killed him at a birthday party, and David didn't correct Absalom. And there's so many things that was happening, but bad counsel. Then it says, of the ungodly. These are ungodly people. Nor standeth in the way of sinners. Now, if I stand in the way of sinners, I'm building the sinner's way. See, I can block a sinner from seeing God. I think it was your brother once preached a sermon here on the eclipse of God. We can't see God because somebody's in the way. We got to remove that blockage. We got to be able to see God. We don't want to stand in the way of sinners. Blessed, happy. Listen, we're not supposed to make contracts with them. We don't become in agreement with them. We don't marry a sinner. We don't date a sinner. Why? Because they don't have the same revelation that we do. They don't have the same Father. Ours is the Heavenly Father, and their father is the devil. They're going to obey him, they're not going to obey God. Why are you deceived thinking you can save him and do salvation dating? So don't walk in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of sinners. You know what they'll tell you? You knew I was that way before we got married. You knew I was a gambler. You knew I was drinking. You knew I was doing this stuff. Why are you shocked now? You knew I said I was saved, but you could tell I wasn't saved. So we don't stand in the way of sinners. We don't do it the sinner way. Yeah, you can try all you want to. You're going to see what you're going to get. See, they want the milk, but they won't give you no contract. You don't even have Blue Cross or Blue Shield. You don't have nothing. But a hard way to go. And some of these manipulators, what they'll do, they'll play with your mind and say, nobody don't want you, you're ugly and that. But you got 5 kids by what's ugly? They'll play mind games. See, they're mockers. See, you don't sit in the seat of mockers or scorners. They're scoffers, they're mockers or scorners. They're making fun of you and talk about your Christianity, about you going to church and you need to go with me to this place and that place. And you said, no, I don't think God wants me there. I'm sitting in the bar with you drinking for what reason? See, sit in the seat of scorners. They don't want you to give your tithes. They want you to bless them with your money. Yes, they will. They'll ask for every dime you got. And they'll manipulate you and use you. It's all right to help some people, but every week they call them. You got to pay their rent center bill and their home box office bill. They ain't got no food because they sold their food stamp. Then they want to come eat your food. I know it's tough, but it's rough. It's tight, but it's right. It's straight, but it's narrow. But the devil will help those who help themselves. If you don't work, you don't eat. Go get Now, see, blessed, happy is the man that walketh not. When you think of walking, that's action. That's lifestyle. We got to be careful who we are walking with. Apostle talked about people that add to our life or subtractors. They take away from us. Find you somebody that can mentor you up. Somebody that's going to pull you up and not going to pull you down. Don't you feel sorry for them dumb boys on them TV show? What you say? And they do everything the smart person say, and he's the patsy. Because they can't think for themselves. So we're blessed when we walk in the counsel of the godly. Let me say this. God can help people get their mind changed through renewing their mind in the scriptures. Apostle has us studying scriptures and memorizing them. Thy word I have hid in my heart that I might not sin against you. God bless it. But let me just go there for a minute. In Psalm 119. 119. That Psalm 119 is one of the longest Psalms in the Bible. Okay, let me see. Verse number 1. Verse 12, okay, thank you. Blessed art thou, O Lord. Teach me thy statutes. Okay, there it is. Blessed are the undefiled. This is verse 1. In the way who walk in the law of God. This is another one right there. That was, ooh, that's a good one. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies, that seek him with the whole heart. So if you want to be blessed, you got to keep his commandments so you won't be defiled, and you got to keep it with your whole heart. So there's so many blessings in the scripture. What was that? Oh, was that verse 11? Okay. Psalm 119, verse 11. Thy word I have hidden in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. So thy word I have hidden in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. So how did you hide the word in your heart? It can't be just casual inquiring. You don't visit the word. You live in the word. You abide in the word. And you study the word. And that's why it says study to show yourself approved. Studying is different than just reading. It's like the man of God was saying yesterday, there were so many words for a dream. You have to go and find in what context what the word meant in every context and find what it meant in either Hebrew or Greek. So you're studying it. You get you a Strong's and you open up and you run the numbers and oh, that's what that means. So we have to study to show ourselves approved. I love a good teacher. I like Dr. Stanley. Some of these people that break down the word and they give you good outlines and they're teaching it to you. Just not preaching at me because I'm a preacher. So I need somebody that teach. I can listen to it. Say, oh, that's what that means. Let me go back and research that out. Because you're not supposed to take everything what people say unless you study it for yourself. Let me go back and look that up and see, like the Bereans, and see if this is right or not. See, he said, thy word I have hidden in my heart that I might not sin against thee. See, some people got it in their head, but it's not with the heart. It's not in their heart. What did it say? Man believeth with his heart. So we got to believe in our heart. I kept saying, God, what is going on with this heart situation? He said over there in Proverbs chapter 4, he said, out of the heart proceeds the issues of life. You got to believe in your heart. To be saved, you got to believe. See, a lot of us are not hiding the word in our heart. There's a couple of Psalms that talks about, he said, you desire the truth in the inward parts. In the inward parts. Help me to know wisdom, God. Lord, I got to get the word in my heart, down deep in my heart, so I will know you, Lord. A lot of people just got information but no revelation. And see, the revelation comes from the heart. Perception and revelation. Amen? So it says here, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. What is delight in? The law of the Lord. What are you taking pleasure in? But his delight is in the law of the Lord. And as long as he meditate day and night. That is the way that we grow in revelation. That is the way we grow in heart belief. The word has got to be hidden in our heart. How did it get there? You meditate day and night. It's like a cow eating grass. It has 4 stomachs. They bring it up. It's called ruminants. And they chew it up and they take it back down. And so it's digested 4 times. And then you get milk. So you have to keep on chewing the word. Ask God questions. God, what does that mean? I don't understand that. I got a question mark in my spirit. You read the scripture, you said, I don't think I understand that. Let me go back and study this. And you run the references for one scripture until you understand it. So it says here, his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate at least twice a day. It said day and night. But if you're not working, you can do much meditation as you want. And when you meditate, the word is muse, M-U-S-E, or ponder or choose. And I think the other word was ruminate. And you just sit there and think about it and chew it over and over and talk to God about that. And then one day, the Lord says, I got something to share with you. You say, what? What is it? And he'll tell you, say, oh, thank you, Lord. I was wondering about that. Sometimes it comes immediately, but sometimes it comes when I'm doing dishes or when I'm vacuuming or in my car driving. You know, vacuum, when you know that word vacuum. He does the vacuuming now. Okay. Maybe you'll get it when you vacuum. Okay. And so we got to meditate. Somebody say day and night. Twice a day. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. Somebody say, I got to be planted. I can't be a rolling stone. I need to come to church. I need to come every time the door is open. I can guarantee you, you will grow if you become planted. I can guarantee you, God will deliver you from habits if you become planted. We had people, they were drinking and smoking and doing stuff, whatever, but they would be here Sunday morning, they smell like a burrito, but that's okay. God delivered them. As they stayed under the anointing power of devil. If you come here these 6 months to a year, you'll be changed. And they all the habits start dropping off. And they thought they were keeping it a secret from us. I can smell real good. But I didn't say anything to him because God has to be the deliverer. We got to let the Holy Ghost be the Holy Ghost. You're not delivered. Somebody said, let the Holy Ghost be the Holy Ghost. Sometimes my testimony is not your testimony. Somebody got delivered bad instantly, but somebody else got delivered gradually. I remember Karen's in heaven right now. And she said, Pastor, I decided I won't go smoke no more. I said, what? She said, I'm not going to smoke anymore. She said, I took 3 cigarettes out and I threw the rest away. I went across to my neighbor and told her to hold my 3 cigarettes. I've only got one at a time. I don't smoke no more. That was her faith. Every day she didn't smoke anymore. Whatever it takes, if you take a patch, come on. Whatever it takes, go to Smokers Anonymous, whatever it takes. Get your deliverance. Stop being arrogant. Some of y'all, they got delivered in one day full of pride. You got some other things you need to get delivered from. So anyway, he should be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. Can you see that? Rivers of water. I like going to the Saginaw River and look at the water. It's just, the water, throw a stick and see how far it goes. See stuff coming back in. Rivers of water. You got to be planted by rivers of water. It's got to get some roots. You see those trees next to the river? They're living a little bit, but they got some deep roots. You got to become planted by the living waters, the rivers of waters. They bring forth his fruit in what? His season. Somebody say, I'm bearing fruit in my season. See, there's a season of gathering. There's a season of planting. There's a season when you're going to reap from your planting. So we have spring, right? We have summer, and then we have right now we're in August, and we see things happening. The fruit is coming in, and then when late fall come in and the latter rain, and this is it. You better get everything off the field, right? Say, God said, your time is coming. Your due season is coming. You'll reap it with your faith now. Keep on planting. Keep on planting. So I'm almost done. Okay? It says, his leaves shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. You mean prosperity? Total prosperity. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou wilt prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. I want you to have total prosperity. I want you to be in health, even as your soul prospers. You got to be renewed in the spirit of your mind. You got to get in the word. You got to lay before God and cry. Have you ever been in a situation and you say, God, I'm sick and tired of this. I don't want to go through this anymore. Deliver me. Deliver me. And then he says in Psalms 139, you got to hate what I hate, and you got to love what I love. are blessed, they're blessed. If they don't walk in the counsel of the righteous are blessed. If they don't walk in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of the sinner, nor sit among mockers. Your best friend can't be a mocker. And this is how you get blessed. If you get planted, if you meditate day and night. But look at the ungodly. The ungodly are not so, but are like a chaff which the wind driveth away. You don't know which way they're going. They're flaky. They're not stable. One day they say, the next day they're not saved. So we don't want to be the ungodly. We don't want to be the pretender. We got a lot of people, they deceive. They think they're saved. But what I'm looking at, I say, is that saved? Do we act like that when we say you cussing and you drinking and you smoking and you doing everything you want to do, you big and bad and don't know what to do, and you say and did get mad like Cain and kill Abel. They want to kill us because they don't want to live right and bring their own sacrifice. The church of Cain, I did it my way. See, the ungodly, therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment. You know, they say they're going to stand in the judgment, that they're going to walk into heaven, and God's going to say, oh, you did so many good things, come on into heaven. You rejected the cross. You rejected Jesus. You rejected the blood. You wouldn't listen to the Holy Spirit that leads and guides you to all truth, that draws you to Him. You wouldn't repent. And it's a goodness God that leads you to repentance. And He said He don't weaken ignorance anymore, but He commands all men to repent. How is it that you going to get in here and you don't have no white robe on? You don't even have a robe of righteousness on. See, that's revelation. How did you get here? Why do you think you can sit at the table and you don't have a white robe on? A lot of people are in church, but they're not living right. They're playing church games. Nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Therefore, the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment. When God look at you, when Jesus look at you, and the fire in His eyes go through you, and everything is written in the book that you've done, and you're guilty, and you rejected Jesus, there is no way you're going to make it into heaven. You got to get saved. You got to receive God's plan. God so loved the world that He gave Jesus, and that's His plan. You got to believe on Jesus. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way but Jesus. Somebody say He's the door. Somebody say He's the truth. Somebody say He's the light. Somebody say He's the bread. He's the bread from heaven. Somebody say the true bread. He's the true bread from heaven. And you got to taste and see that the Lord is good. You got to taste and see that God is a good God. Yes, He is. He gave you a way out. He gave you a way out. Jesus is the way out. What did He say? The wages of sin is death. But the gift of God is what? Eternal life in Jesus Christ. He's the way out, Jesus. Because there's the wrath of God coming. The wrath of God is coming to destroy all sinners. As if for them that do not want to live holy, they have chosen to do evil. And wherever He finds wickedness and evil, He's going to judge it. So somebody say, get right, get right, get right, get right, get right, get right. Get right, church, and let's go home. You better get right. For I, the Lord, know the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. There's two ways. The righteous way, the ungodly way. That's why we're here at church, to learn the right way, and for us to do the right thing, and to make right decisions. You got a chance to make it. You know His mercies are new every morning, and great is His faithfulness. Thank God the prodigal son woke up and came back home. You don't have to be a prodigal. You can come home. You can be like Hosea's wife and lost your desire for evil, and God broke evil soul ties, and she came back to her husband. There's only one way, Jesus Christ. And Jesus came to save sinners. That's what's His specialty. I came to die for sinners. When I was at home thinking about the cross, I was sitting there and said, Lord, thank you for the cross. Thank you for the cross. Thank you for the cross. You gave us your blood on the cross. It paid for every sin penalty. I thank you for the cross, Lord. I wouldn't have made it without the cross. I was a wretch undone, a sinner not saved. But you gave me the cross. I got saved on college campus. I really got saved. saved. I didn't get churchanized, I got saved. And my life has never ever been the same again. And when he filled me with the Holy Ghost, that was the missing ingredient that I needed. He, the Holy Spirit, to show me the path of life, to teach me truth, to open my eyes that I might understand the riches of God, the riches of his grace. How many out there want more of God? I want more of Jesus. I want to know you, Lord, so much more than I do. And you're my glory, God. You're my glory and the lifter of my head.
At the cross, where I'm from, please stand up. And the burden rolled away. It was there. It was there. My faith, I received my sight. And now I am happy all day. At the cross, where I first saw the light, and the burden of my heart rolled away. It was there by faith I received my sight, and now I am happy all day. Father God, we thank you for this word, that your word has not returned void, accomplish what it please, prosper in the thing whereto you sent it. If there's someone here today, you don't know Jesus, you have not known him, you've never known him, but you have been today, by this special word, introduced to him. Come to Jesus. Come to him right now. Lord, save me, you might say. Lord, deliver me. Lord, set me free. I want to be saved.
I want to be saved.
I want to be delivered.
Yes, Lord, I want to be
I
delivered.
want to be free.
I want to be free.
Come into my life,
Come
Lord.
into my life.
I'll serve you all the days of my
Serve you
life.
all the days of my life.
If you prayed that prayer or similar prayer today, you are saved. I declare you to be filled with the Holy Ghost. And I declare today for you to find a church home. Find the Bible. Read John the Gospel. Be baptized if you haven't been baptized. Amen. Pray every day. And believe God. Tell somebody today, I gave my life to the Lord. And those of you who are here, are you sure you're saved? If you died right now, would you go to heaven? Would you be in heaven? Are you certain? I wouldn't gamble on this matter.
I wouldn't gamble on
I wouldn't be uncertain. I wouldn't be double-minded about your eternal security. Is there one today you raise your hand and say, I'm not sure today, I need Jesus? Is there one today, I need Jesus? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm saved.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
We trust that everyone today, you have a church home. You have a church home.
Hallelujah.
You're more than welcome to join if that's you today. To join
Hallelujah.
if that's you today.
Jesus.
Amen. What we've done with the Lord is required. Amen. We're going to have our benediction remain standing as we get ready to be dismissed here today. We're going to have our moderator to lead us in the benediction today. And we bless you. We love you. Let me just say, also this evening at 6 p.m., the class, the school is free. And it starts at 6 p.m. And you'll get to know about how to interpret and understand your dreams and your visions. You have to understand that the Holy Spirit communicates that way. And you need to know how to also receive and interpret his communication. Amen? Amen. Praise God. Now the benediction.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, so that they shall invoke my name on the sons of Israel, and I then will bless them. Go in peace and keep Jesus as your attraction. Amen.
Amen.